have in the first part of October, and I was on my laptop, and I saw this meme. It was an aerial shot of Wall Street, and it said, according to the media, nothing is happening here, just move on.
Bill Clinton signed off on the Financial Service Modernization Act, the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, that made all these financial swindles legal.
Like derivatives?
All the collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps, all of that was made legal in a bipartisan, Republican-led Senate working with the Democrat Bill Clinton.
I have a friend, Corey, at Occupy Wall Street. He's a major part of the movement there. I was there for 5 days, and he said he needs people out there. He needs us to go out there to Occupy Wall Street and show our support. So I think that each Occupy in North America should send people out there to Occupy Wall Street.
That's the most important thing, is what you're doing. You just keep doing it. It sends a real message, I think, that people are in the streets, because it's the only other way to get your voice heard if you don't play the game the way it's been played, with lobbyists, congressmen who are too much influenced by lobbyists, corporate money that influences the politicians. This is really the only alternative, so don't let them convince you to come inside, put on a suit, and hire a lobbyist. That's how you lose. This is how you win.
People coming together, such a diversity of people. I mean, there was social justice warriors, there were people that are talking about economic justice, environmental justice. There were all sorts of religious groups and sexual orientations, and it was not just Democrat and Republican. There were other parties there, other philosophies.
I'm here at the Occupy LA today, talking to some people, sharing some ideas, and it's good seeing people come out and support and just kind of bring that sense of community back.
Because remember that we are all atoms that vibrate at the very core of who we are as human beings.
I saw the same thing in New York, Occupy Boston, as well as Occupy LA. The focus is on corporate greed. It talks about individual liberty. It talks about social justice. It talks about democratic accountability, especially the 1% who own 40% of the wealth.
In Sidi Bouzid, Tunisia, in late 2010, a street vendor, Mohamed Bouazizi, set himself on fire as a protest that started massive anti-government protests across the Arab world. The economic hardship of the masses of workers forced an end to Ben Ali's 23-year rule, and he fled to Saudi Arabia. Protests spread to Egypt, Syria, and Yemen. In May of 2011, an anti-austerity movement, as a series of protests and demonstrations, broke out in Spain. It has been called 15M, or Indignado movement. One action was occupying public space, paving the way as inspiration for Occupy Wall Street. Journalist David DeGraw's blogs, called Amped Status, caught the attention of Adbusters magazine in Canada as he was researching economic data in public records and determined that approximately 1% of the population had at least 40% of the wealth. After an unsuccessful call to action in June 2011, the very same call was again put out on the internet with the help of a coalition. The rest is history. Starting September 17, 2011, in Zuccotti Park of Lower Manhattan.
Hi, this is Niswander of the Nowman Show, and I'm here with the journalist Robert Scheer.
Bill Clinton signed off on the Financial Service Modernization Act, the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, that made all these financial swindles legal.
Like derivatives?
All the collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps, all of that was made legal in a bipartisan, Republican-led Senate working with the Democrat Bill Clinton. And the worst one he signed off when he was a lame duck president. So, and Hillary Clinton knows all that.
And you mean Glass-Steagall is what you're referring to?
No, Glass-Steagall's the Financial Service Modernization Act. That was 2 years before. But when he's a lame duck president after the 2000 election, he signs off on the commodity futures, which is actually worse because Title III of the Commodity Futures Modernization Act said that none of these new financial devices, which were all hokum if the mafia did it, they'd throw them in the slammer forever. And none of that will be regulated by any existing law or any regulatory agency. The fact that people don't know that, Title III of the Commodity Futures Modernization Act, signed by Bill Clinton, tells you where the mass media has been all these years. It's just unbelievable.
And then 8 years later, we can see the banks led us directly into the crisis.
Well, because they were empowered to write these, take different mortgages and package them together and put a new label on and swindle people. I mean, it's just incredible.
It was amazing.
And then a lot of us, myself, supported Barack Obama. He came in. And he did the same thing George W. Bush did. George W. Bush did not create the financial crisis. He created a large part of the international crisis.
Right, foreign policy.
Iraq and, but in terms of Wall Street, and in my book, The Great American Stick-Up, I document this quite nicely, and there's a scene that from Paulson, his Treasury Secretary, who had been head of Goldman Sachs, comes into the office, and Bush asked Paulson, he said, how did this happen? And Paulson, the great Wall Street veteran, looks at the president and he says to himself, this is in his own book, he says it's a tough question to be asked because we did it, meaning Wall Street in cooperation with the federal government. And so Bush comes in and what does he do? He bails out Wall Street, screws Main Street. Well, Barack Obama does the same thing, hires the same bandits that worked for Clinton, Lawrence Summers, would work for Robert Rubin, who had gone off to Citigroup, a bank made legal by...
You talked to those two at the Democrat National Convention, didn't you?
Well, not Rubin, I talked to Summers. I tried to talk to him. So arrogant, he didn't have to talk to anybody, he's... right, he got 6, even before Obama brought him into the administration again, and he'd been Treasury and everything, he was making $6 million a year from D. Shaw, one of the big hedge funds. I mean, he was making money like crazy.
Wasn't he a chief economist for the World Bank too?
Well, yes, but I mean, while he was advising Obama in that campaign in 2008, he was already making all this money from Wall Street. And these people have no shame.
Hello, this is Niswander. I want to do some blogs before it gets dark. It's Saturday nights, October the 8th. Lost track of time. And I'm here on the steps of the City Hall here in downtown Los Angeles for Occupy LA, which is getting a lot of media attention, at least in certain places, as more and more people become aware of what's going on here. It's very peaceful. It's for the most part nonpartisan, except people are welcome to share whatever their views are because, well, it's all about the 99%. Not class warfare, but just facts. And we actually are all here together, but we do have to work together. Hello, this is Niswander. I'm in part of Tent City here at Occupy LA by City Hall, downtown Los Angeles. Here you can see a lot of posters, signs. There's all sorts of booths set up too. There's a food booth serving free food with a long line. I see supplies, donations, even a bookstore right here. So if you want to read a book, you can pick up a book here, or 2 or 3. And there's also a teepee here. They aren't all tents. Remember, teepees were the original tents, right? That's right. The indigenous tents. And there's going to be a General Assembly coming up later, so you can see the sun is going down. And talk to you soon. Hello, this is Nowman, and I am at City Hall, downtown Los Angeles. Well, actually, specifically, this is Occupy Los Angeles, and it's been going on now for about 45 days. I have been working here, incognito, of course, and it's been a very interesting experience. Trying to sum it up in just a few words, well, it's just not possible. But I can start the dialogue. Diversity.
cannot judge by appearance. Use basic common sense. Understand there are rumors that can be around. What is the perception of reality? Is it really based on fact or just belief? What brings you here?
Well, I wanted to make some change and see what everybody else is doing so I can correlate with them and work together as a group. See, that's what we're all here for. In America, we have that ability to do this. And it's nice because it's peaceful. There's no violence going on. For the most part, just a really good time.
I feel like, it's just beginning, we need more, and, we kind of need to open up and open our minds. We're kind of entering into a new time, now where it's like, different ideas, different cultures, different religions, different, just things are changing, and I feel like people need to open up to that, and people need to, not only follow the trends of, pop culture change. I feel people need to kind of look inside themselves and other people and go with the change from there, the natural change of things, because I feel like if there's a change that you can trust, I feel like it's the natural change. I feel like, looking to TV and the radio and the internet for, the next trend or the next movement, that's not going to get it done. We need to look to ourselves and, people like me, people like you, people like, the crowds that we have here, and just, share ideas, work together to make the world a better place, because, it's a gift. Life is a gift, and we're gifted to, be a part of this experience. So, while we're alive, the least you can do is work to make a difference, work to make a change, and work to leave a positive imprint on people's lives and, the people that you, love and that you care about.
Hi, I'm going to talk to you for a minute.
Sure, what's up?
So what are we hearing right now?
This is the 8 lamas from Drupal. They're 8 lamas like the Dalai Lama, but they're all special throat singing lamas that are going on right now. They all are like Om, Ah, Hu, and Ong. They all resonate their voices at the lowest or high, if you can hear right now, frequencies, and they all resonate together. And it produces a healing effect of some kind. Each song is at a different vibrational frequency that has a different effect.
But what are you feeling right now?
Free love's going down. Love is happening.
I mean, it's a mixture between inspiration and, I guess disappointment that this is necessary. I'm still a little bit in shock from the whole thing. I'm not from here. I'm kind of a well-to-do Aspen kid, but I really think it's an important piece. It's just an important time for everybody.
This is your first time here?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm an artist, and I wanted to kind of come down here and get the collection of people that's brought to LA, which is pretty astounding.
It is pretty amazing, isn't it? Thank
Unlike anything I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's great.
According to David DeGraw, who is a humble and major voice behind the 99% and the Occupy Wall Street movements, the initial biggest achievement of the Occupy movement is just raising awareness. He said, though the terminology makes him reluctant to say so, it really has been a very successful PR operation. This is just the basic beginning, though. This is Nowman. Keep occupying the here and the now.
Bill, can I ask you a few questions?
Okay, sure.
We really appreciate you coming down today. Obviously, you have a mouthpiece, and people listen to what you say. Based on where we're at today, what do you think the chances are of this movement really forming a solid foundation which will help this country and the world kind of restore democracy kind of as we hope it to be?
I say the odds are 99 to 1 that it'll happen.
Those are pretty good odds.
They are good odds.
So you're pretty optimistic then at this point in time that this movement could really get some serious traction and garner worldwide support?
Absolutely. I mean, already the polls show that the people in this country are behind this movement, and that will translate into pressure on political figures to pay attention to it and its goals. And that's what is needed. I mean, we don't want to overthrow our system of government. We've already found out that it is the best system except for all the other systems. Well, I don't want to overthrow our system. I just want to make it work. You know, I'm for democracy.
Oh my God, he's so handsome.
I'm for democracy.
You admire already,
I think we're all for democracy. We just would like to see it work the way it used to.
So have we ever had a true democratic system in this country?
You'd have to ask a historian, but I think it used to be more democratic. It certainly used to be more fair.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not against capitalism either. I don't think most people are who are here. I think we are just for making capitalism regulated and more equitable. I'm not a communist. I think that would be a much worse option. But all modern societies that work, I'm thinking of governments in Europe that function more smoothly than ours, that take care of their citizens, they're a hybrid of capitalism and socialism. Obviously, America is also. We are full of socialist entities in this country. Even the tea baggers don't want to get rid of Social Security. They want their Medicare. They want their farm subsidies. They want their mortgages through the government. The bankers, they certainly take more handouts than anybody. But it has to be done in a fair way, and it has to be done in a way that works for everybody, and capitalism has to be regulated.
Do you think there's any possibility that the Democratic Party is going to latch onto this movement, or is this movement going to become an entity of its own, in its own?
Well, it's always a struggle to get the Democratic Party to do what's in their own best interests, which would be to align themselves with the majority of the population that looks to them to be the champions of the people. But again, if you stay here and the polls keep showing that the people are behind the Occupy Wall Street movement, yes, that will move the politicians eventually.
Even though they've been bought and paid for?
Well, they've been bought and paid for, but they also want to keep their jobs.
Yep.
And we vote.
But what?
We can't not compost.
Public elections, I was just saying to my friend not 5 minutes ago, we need public elections. Of course, we got to get the money out of politics.
Do you think that could be or should be one of our first and preeminent demands?
You can just ditch it under a
sure. I mean, there's, I think a lot of demands. I bet you everybody in this crowd, she's got a newsletter.
Let prisoners out of jail.
Right.
No jail for pot.
We have no dearth of causes here.
Yeah, but I mean, it's going to be important for us to focus our energies on some real critical things. And it seems like taking big money out of the political aspect of our governing system could be an important step in a good direction.
Absolutely. That's the root of it all, is that the corporations own the governments, and of course they don't want change. They like things just the way they are. And somehow we have a situation where more people are out of work than ever, and taxes are lower than ever. But one of the main political parties, every one of their platforms is about how we should tax the rich less.
Yeah. What would you say about Citizens United in particular?
I think it's awful.
Yeah.
I think the Supreme Court has made so many terrible decisions, and they're always behind big business, always siding with business against people.
Do you think that we need a third party or additional parties in this country, or do you think that we can change the system from within the current structure?
I think the only way multiple parties would work in this country is if we had a parliamentary system, which we don't. We don't have a system like the European countries, where that's where multiple parties work. We don't form coalition governments. So I doubt if we're going to get a page one rewrite of the Constitution to make that happen. And as long as we have the system we have, I think we're always going to have to live with this two-party system. Third parties historically only draw votes away from the party you actually are favoring.
Right, which is a problem in its own, obviously.
That is a problem in its own. I think people are just fed up, and look, Americans love convenience. It's very hard to dissuade them from the sops they are thrown by corporate America. But when it gets to this point, and of course your allies in this are your enemies, the big business people who keep making life worse and worse for the regular citizens in this country, and it takes a lot, you're right, to get them off the couch, but at a certain point, like the movie said, they're going to stand up and say, I'm fed up, I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take it anymore.
If you build it, they will come.
Yeah, and you've built it, so congratulations.
Well, thank you very much for coming down. We really appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But first let me say that we have come down here to thank you for occupying LA. We have come down here to thank you for bringing the conversation of social justice and economic justice into the conversation that is often squelched by the corporate media. We're here to thank you about being the next wave of energy that's rising up and breaking through the stagnation of thought, the stagnation of selfishness and greed. We're here to thank you for being the next wave of an emerging paradigm. And for you who are a part of this emerging paradigm, you know already that you're not here to save the world, because we don't want to save the world as it is. We don't want to save the world where corporations are given citizenship and allowed to be people. We don't want to save the world of bigotry. We don't want to save the world of greed. We want to serve something else that is emerging at this time. And you are a part of that which is emerging, and so we're here to thank you for that. We're here to thank you for occupying a state of consciousness.
We're doing everything we can to try to get this message out. I believe as a member of the media on public television, especially on public television and public radio, it is my mission, it's my mandate, it's my calling, my vocation, my purpose to try to get Americans who don't get this to re-examine the assumptions they hold. My job is to try to help them to expand their inventory of ideas. My job on public TV and public radio is to try to get them to look at this country and the crisis of this country through a different prism. That's the job that I try to do every day on public TV and public radio. So I'm always honored to be a part of a struggle that's trying to get America to wrestle with its own demons, wrestle with its own challenges, its own crises. I wanted to share with you when Dr. West and I appeared on Keith's show just a moment ago on current television, one of the questions that he asked us, because this critique is moving around the country, that this movement is 99% white. Exactly. And Dr. West and I we just pushed back on that lie on national television. This is multicultural, this is multiracial, this is multi-ethnic. This protest is a microcosm of this city, and it's a microcosm of this country. Y'all didn't clap loud enough on that. And I just came back right quick to say, for those of us who live and work, or who live and are trying to work in this so-called city of the angels, I came back to say that if we are serious about taking our future into our own hands, when persons, I know we're streaming live right now, so I'm talking to folk right now who are not here. Folk who are not here right now, but know that they're catching hell. Know that they can't find a job. Know that they can't afford their student loans. Know that they're living back home with their mom and them. Know that they don't have access to health care, etc., etc., etc. If you have a legitimate grievance, this is where you need to be. I said to Keith when asked, Keith asked whether or not there was a problem with the fact that the movement at the moment doesn't have a cohesive or coherent message, that there isn't a laundry list of demands. I said, who said? I like this right here. But who said that there aren't a variety of legitimate grievances here at this protest about jobs, about getting out of Iraq and Afghanistan, about access to health care, etc., etc. So there are a lot of issues here, a lot of legitimate grievances, and I'm convinced that if we keep making enough noise, somebody's got to start asking questions about what does matter to us. The worst thing you can do to a human being is to make him or her feel invisible, to make them feel disposable, to make them feel like they're a calculation or they are an afterthought. And there's too much of that in this country. The humanity of too many people is being contested every day. What we are fighting against is the contestation of the humanity of too many Americans of all races, colors, creeds, etc. So I came back tonight to talk to CNN and to talk to Keith and of course my own show on PBS and on NPR and PRI, but to try to raise your voice through the voice and the platform that I have about how significant and how necessary this is. So I celebrate your courage, I celebrate your conviction, I celebrate your commitment, I celebrate your character for being out here.
The tradition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak. Suffering from wherever it comes. We are an inclusive group.
Yes.
Tea Party brothers and sisters look like the audience for Lawrence Welk in the National. I ain't got nothing against Lawrence Welk and Bubbles. But we look more like an audience for Lupe Fiasco. Or we look more like an audience for Carole King and James Taylor. Yeah, we look more like an audience for Prince. That's the kind of audience we got. Yes, we cut against the grain, but it's our common humanity. So yes, we are open to prophetic Mormon brothers and sisters if they believe that corporate greed ought to be eliminated. That's right. Give the prophetic Mormon brothers and sisters a hand right now if they want to come here and join the movement. We here for the progressive, agnostic, and atheistic brothers and sisters. Come and join the movement. That's right. Even for prophetic black Baptists like myself. That's why I'm here too. And I saw a picture of Brother Martin Luther King Jr. Put it back up again. Show Brother Martin. Where's Brother Martin? Somebody put Brother Martin's picture up. That's part of our legacy too. For our prophetic Jewish brothers and sisters, come and fight corporate greed. This is part of the movement. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, come join the movement. Buddhist brothers and sisters, come join the movement. We cut against the grain. So don't let anybody tell you that we just a shadow of a Tea Party movement. Hell no! No way! And not only that, but we are international because corporate greed cuts across national boundaries, and we know we got to cut radically against the grain, and that's why it's a blessing for me to be here.
Okay, just one quick question. So I just interviewed on Clark Davis. You work with KCAL? Channel 5. Channel 5. I just interviewed Commander Smith, and I think you interviewed him for about 10 minutes after that. I think you made it pretty clear that General Services, I believe, is closing the park for renovation and reconstruction at midnight.
Yep. Yeah, so at midnight he says he doesn't want people just starting to move. He wants them gone by midnight.
Yeah.
And they're prepared to arrest hundreds if they need to arrest hundreds.
Anyone that's here.
Anyone that's here.
Anyone that's here. Okay, thanks. I'm going to tweet this, email it, and do everything else I can. And we can...
Look at this. We have a lovely sky show for you. I was curious how many gallons of fuel do you think they
nth degree because it feels so natural. Like beauty is more than skin deep. It isn't just physical. We have a special bond. It doesn't matter what you call it. So simple yet complex. Like a puzzle, every piece has a fit now. I said everyone in this place makes the world go round. Everyone in this place makes the world go round. Everyone in this place makes the world go round. Everyone in this place makes the world go round and round. Someone asked me, have you heard the good news? Gotta do right by doing good deeds. It all starts here with me and you, making sure we're caring for our needs now. There are many cultures, races and creeds, rainbow colors, not just black and white. Each one is unique in their own way. We're connected in the soul, that's right now. Everyone in this place makes the world go round. Everyone
Thank you, King.
Apparently some buses have moved around the park.
Damn it! Ball number
Peacekeepers, clear the space! Keep it open! Clear the space! Keep it open!
across the street. Now you're in the middle of need space! Get over here. Get over here.
Hello, this is Dan Nowman Niswander, and I am here with comic Lee Camp, who is in Los Angeles right now. And thank you so much for stopping by. When you put this information out there, it's in the subconscious, but it doesn't quite come to the forefront of the consciousness.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you're saying that a lot of these thoughts are already there deep down. They just don't realize it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I definitely think so. I mean, there's a great. Where do we rank on the depression scale in the world? Like, we're pretty high up there. And yet a lot of poorer countries look at us and go, oh, they have it so easy. It's so happy there. They just all have money and food and they have big cars, and it's just, they must all just be so happy. And people are miserable. And they're miserable because this is an empty value system. Mm-hmm. And I think that a lot of people know that deep down. And some of them will get angry at you for dredging it up and shoving it in their faces. But a lot of other people, and even some of the ones that get angry, go home, and I think it starts to awaken something. And I think that it takes, just like it takes a lot of punches to knock down a fighter, it takes, I think, a lot of those kind of punches to ultimately wake someone up. And that's a perfect example is that Dick Cheney is perhaps one of the most evil men alive and doesn't seem to have empathy for just about anyone, except on gay marriage. He's cool with gay marriage because his daughter's gay.
Exactly.
So it's in his face. It's something that I have empathy for that. I have empathy for that person. And so getting the personal experience is very important.
Absolutely. So once those of us that, let's say, are engaged, and those that may be aware, they have the information, it is in the forefront of their mind, how do you engage those people to go further?
Well, I don't have all the answers, but I think that part of it is to tell them is to keep reminding people that every little step is important. I do have a few issues that I perhaps have fought harder on than other issues, one of them being the campaign to end the death penalty. And I think it's inspiring as an activist because you feel like you could have more change on a smaller level like that. And so I think it sounds like a good idea because then you're right, people can. It's easier to educate yourself on one issue like the death penalty than it is to educate yourself on the breadth of the human experience, or the American system. So I think it's a very good idea. One of the things that really kind of cemented my feeling that a single person or a very small group of people can have an effect was a death penalty. Someone who was going to be executed in Texas named Kenneth Foster, probably 4 years ago now, and he was about to be executed, and he hadn't killed anyone. The prosecution agreed he hadn't killed anyone. He'd been in a car, his friend got in a fight, killed someone, and they wanted to put the driver of the car to death. And he was this close to being executed, and he wasn't, thanks to the work of a very small group of people. I mean, this was not a national issue really at all. It was a tiny little Texas issue, and just a handful of people, sitting in the governor's driveway in Texas, and a few people making phone calls, and this guy was saved. And he's still alive thanks to them. And when you pinpoint an issue like that, it feels a lot easier for a very small group of people to have a very important impact. Or another good example, and I talk about this in my act, is that Obama and the Pentagon, to their credit, realized too many civilians were dying from drone aircraft attacks. And so they needed to do something about it. And so they did. They changed the definition of the word civilian. I'm not even kidding. That was their solution. Yeah. So now anyone of military age in a target area is considered a combatant rather than a civilian. You don't even have to know you're fighting.
I see. You can just be standing there.
Yeah, you can just be standing. You can be a 95-year-old man trying to figure out how to fit falafel in your mouth, and you are now a combatant.
So we can alter statistics that way then.
You can alter anything, yeah.
David DeGraw asked me to make a contribution to his book, and so basically looking back on that experience in 100 words, the Occupy Wall Street movement coming into manifestation is the first time in my life that I really felt the genuine oneness of the whole of humankind on this earth planet. The passion and the true empowerment of that revelation not only continues to drive me to further deepen my ethical values and roots, but to also use all of my talents and skills and to seek out others even more who share this passion and desire to be an active part of a global consciousness that at its core is focused on genuine love and justice for all. The phenomenon of these new relationships continue to inspire and challenge while keeping the ego in check. The whole experience will surely evolve into something beyond anything that we can currently envision, but our mission can no longer be denied in this present moment now as we go forward. And as we go forward, I have to keep hope in my heart and mind and action. And I encourage you to as well. Even in this new decade, 10 years later, it's perhaps even more important than ever for us to reach out to each other come together, even with those that we have differences with. Let's talk about what we actually do have in common in this experience on this planet. It's never too late to actually do it. This is Dan Nowman Niswander.